first heard about snowboarding, I was like, how would I snowboard? And yeah, it's opened my eyes a bit as well, to be fair. So
I'm hoping at some point I can be fully independent snowboarding, which at the moment I'm still needing a bit of help to get on lifts and stuff.
I used to be a strapping 6'2" soldier, and all of a sudden I'm 4'6", no legs, fingers, various other bits, and it's just, yeah, I didn't see a future at all.
You don't get many experiences in life to push somebody with a double above knee amputation off the top of an indoor slope and not knowing what's going to happen. So yeah, it was quite an interesting time.
You know, and there was people laughing and going, no, that's not going to happen, it's not going to work. Well, 20 years later, it's working.
On the 25th of May 1991, Darren Swift was blown up whilst on patrol in Northern Ireland, a moment that would change his life forever.
I perhaps stupidly finished school at 16 and joined the army. I was in an infantry regiment, the Royal Green Jackets, now known as the Rifles, and I did 10 years until unfortunately I was blown up by a terrorist bomb in Belfast, Northern Ireland. I was ended up on the floor, just sat on the floor with my right leg missing above the knee, and my left leg was blown off as well. It was, and a couple of fingers and various other shrapnel injuries as well. I felt I was going to die. I was losing blood from everywhere, and I thought to myself, right, well, rather than die painfully, I'll just shoot myself. So I reached for it, and it wasn't there. So I couldn't even top myself. I couldn't even end it. And it was about that point that the rest of the lads came round and started helping and doing something to keep me alive.
But that didn't stop him. As life went on, he started moving towards a new goal.
I decided to discharge from the army, medically discharged from the army, and I decided that I was going to get back to doing what I'd done in the army, really travel. I love travelling, that's one of the reasons why I joined, but this time I'm doing it in a wheelchair or on these little legs. So it was a bit different. But I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Got involved in some expeditions and various activities, sports and what have you, canoeing in the Arctic and all sorts of things. And whilst on a sit skiing trip on my own in Italy, Norman No Mates, I watched these three snowboarders, young lads, come down the mountain, park up their boards and go into this bar for a beer. And I thought to myself, I want to do that. I want to snowboard. How can I do that?
And this is the man that made it happen. Dale Renard is a product designer who set out making the first adaptive snowboard.
So I met Swifty probably back in 1996. We were just starting to go on a canoeing expedition to the Northwest Territories in Canada. So I kind of taught Swifty and another couple of guys how to open canoe. We stayed friends ever since, and it was probably about 15 years ago when we were sat in the pub and Swifty asked me if he could snowboard, if he thought somebody with a double above knee amputation could snowboard, and I think foolishly I said yeah, and that's where it all started. The first actual prototype was people are going to hate this, but we bolted through the snowboard and actually just strapped Swifty in with hooks onto the top of his prosthetics down onto the board, and used car roof rack straps to tie him down, and that was the very first prototype, just to prove the concept. And so, 10 yards down the slope, we kind of proved that it could happen, and from there we've kind of moved on and on and on. You don't get many experiences in life to push somebody with a double above knee amputation off the top of an indoor slope and not knowing what's going to happen. So yeah, it was quite an interesting time.
Things have come a long way since the first prototype. Swifty now gets his bindings professionally made at Limb Solutions. Ian Jones previously made prosthetics for wounded soldiers before setting up his own clinic.
When I first started there, we were at the beginning of Operation Panther's Claw, so we had a lot of amputees coming back with single limb loss to start with, then we had multiple. As the IEDs got more and more complex, they got more and more injured. They were getting better at saving some of the guys' lives, so they were surviving with bigger injuries. So I think at one stage we had 16 patients sat in fitting rooms and no legs between them. So yeah, it gives you the sort of scope of what we were up against.
He's now diversified his practice to make custom equipment for amputees wanting to take up sport.
Certain prosthetics are very complicated in the way that you make them. These snowboard bindings that we've been making for Swifty use a different process altogether, using pre-preg carbons, but you have to make moulds as well, so have a special oven down the bottom that's computer controlled that will change the temperature throughout the curing process. The binding really is the structural part, so really then you have to tailor make each one to individual needs. So I think Swifty calls them snaps, which are the little prosthetic sockets that he wears. They're all made slightly different sizes, so it's not an off-the-shelf product that he has. So we then have to tailor make the sort of padding for each of the bindings. Getting the right shape is the important bit, so generally we'll have a fitting and I'll sculpture the foam or grind it just to get the right shape that we need. And I'm sure we're not at the finished stage as yet, but we've got a very good working product at the moment, so yeah.
It's not just war veterans who experience limb loss. Ellie Chalice and Harvey Phillips are both quadruple amputees who lost their limbs to meningitis as toddlers. But that hasn't held them back. Ellie is already a Paralympic champion in swimming, and in 2019 she became the first quad amputee snowboarder in the world.
So I did a couple sit-ski holidays and I just wanted to do something where I was in control of what I was doing, and then I got in touch with DSUK, which is Disability Snow Sport, and they put me in touch with Swifty. Like, especially with snowboarding, I think people probably just think I go on a snowboard and like I'm not in control of it and I just go really fast downhill. But actually when you watch it, it's a lot more controlled than you'd think. And yeah, with swimming, I couldn't swim till such an old age, and it just needed them people that believed in me to help me learn to swim, and got there in the end. But there's still like doubt with certain things, and I'm hoping at some point I can be fully independent with snowboarding, which at the moment I'm still needing a bit of help to like get on lifts and stuff. But yeah, it's always difficult because it's not easy to start. It takes a lot to get the equipment you need and get the coach you need and all that, so it doesn't make it easy. I can't just go to a normal lesson. It doesn't work like that for me.
Harvey also swims for Great Britain and took up snowboarding last year.
First heard about snowboarding, I was like, how would I snowboard? And yeah, it's opened my eyes a bit as well, to be fair. So, especially when like going into newer sports and stuff like that, you get a lot of sort of funny looks and people sort of questioning why you're there as such. But how I see it, it's like a sense of freedom. I can be me, and like for me, sports just opened up a lot of different opportunities that I don't think I'd have generally in terms of like most other people's.
With adaptive snowboarding growing in popularity, what's to stop them from taking part in competitions?
So I had to go at the Paralympics, but unfortunately there's no category for someone with no legs in the Paralympics. So I had to join another category, which put me at a disadvantage. Not to blame it all on that. Equipment was the problem, I think, at the time. I wasn't using the carbon fibre bindings for sure. So yeah, it's been a long journey through all that. 3 years of training for the Paralympics, not actually achieving, not getting there to compete was not a great time. I'm knocking 60 now, and I've just, yeah, I think I might be a bit beyond that, a little bit overweight as well. But no, some of the younger guys, maybe Ellie and Harvey, and hopefully the IPC will see fit to bring in another category for double above knee amputees or for this level of disability, so we're not in an unfair category.
It may be too late for Swifty, but the battle continues to try to introduce a new category to allow people like Ellie and Harvey to compete as equals.